Today I'll be showing you why your target retirement number may be dangerously wrong. In my experience as a partner at a retirement planning firm, I found that standard calculations consistently miss crucial factors that can dramatically change how much you actually need. That's exactly why I'm making this video today, to show you why your target retirement number may be dangerously wrong and how to calculate what you really need. Let's get right into it. Most retirement planning conversations revolve around a single question: what's my target number? This approach can seem simple and comforting, but it can unfortunately mask deeper problems that could derail your financial security in retirement. The problem is that basic retirement calculators and target numbers are based on static assumptions. They'll assume that your ongoing spending and the rate of inflation will remain consistent for the rest of your life, that you know exactly how many years that you're going to live, that market conditions will follow predictable paths. However, in reality, retirement isn't a linear path. Life introduces unexpected shocks, health issues, market downturns, family emergencies, long-term care needs, and even a natural slowdown of normal spending that occurs as we age. These non-linear cash flow needs can dramatically alter the amount of money that's required to safely maintain your lifestyle in retirement. In my recent video, The Retirement Spending Iceberg Most Retirees Realize Too Late, I explained how hidden expenses like long-term care and home maintenance can surface unexpectedly, catching many retirees off guard. Standard calculators don't account for these intermittent but costly expenses, potentially leaving retirees vulnerable to major shortfalls. Generic retirement targets can easily create false confidence if you haven't taken the time to analyze your likely needs or without considering the potential and unexpected risks. Many people believe that once they hit their target number, they can retire comfortably without worry. This belief is reinforced by simple online calculators that produce neat figures after plugging in basic details like age, income, and desired retirement age. The common assumptions include: if I reach $1 million, then I'm set for life, retirement shocks won't happen to me, Social Security and pensions will cover the gaps, market returns will be stable, and inflation will stay low. These beliefs lead to overconfidence. In my video, I'm 63 with $2.3 million, why can't I retire? I break down the made-up story of Chip, a pre-retiree who saved diligently but found out his impressive level of savings wasn't enough to sustain his lifestyle, let alone cover the cost of long-term care health insurance premiums. The same story plays out with many clients that I've worked with. Saving a large sum is important, but without factoring in healthcare, taxes, and potential market volatility, retirees risk running out of money too soon. Now, after seeing how traditional retirement calculations can dangerously miss critical risks, you might be wondering if your own retirement number is truly accurate. What I've learned is that most people aren't struggling with saving for retirement. They're struggling with knowing if their savings will actually be enough. The truth is, retirement planning isn't about hitting some arbitrary target number. It's about understanding how to build a plan that can withstand unexpected shocks and challenges. Having helped many clients create shock-resistant retirement plans, I know how critical proper planning can be. If you'd like to discuss your retirement preparation and explore strategies to protect against these risks, click the link below to schedule a complimentary call. Now back to the video. When people rely on overly simplistic calculators, they retire based on misleading targets and often face unpleasant surprises. They're spending more than they thought, leading to an early depletion of assets. A market downturn forces them to withdraw more money than they expected, reducing long-term sustainability of their assets. They overestimate potential portfolio growth, artificially reducing their savings requirement based on their spending needs. Many pre-retirees that I've worked with are shocked to discover that their savings may not last through their 90s or even their 80s. This lack of preparation forces retirees to make drastic spending cuts or relying on their children for support, two outcomes that most people want to avoid. So here's the fundamental issue. Retirement success hinges more on preparing for the unexpected and consistently making strategic and informed financial decisions as opposed to reaching an arbitrary savings goal. Most traditional calculators treat investment returns, inflation, spending, taxes, and life expectancy like fixed numbers. But real life isn't that predictable. To make things worse, traditional calculators are anything but straightforward. They often ask what percentage of your pre-retirement income that you plan to spend in retirement without even clarifying if that's pre-tax or post-tax. The point is, these calculators are basic and lack the depth that's needed to give you a realistic idea of how much you'll actually need for retirement. More comprehensive approaches to retirement projections show that even portfolios with millions of dollars can fail under the right or wrong set of circumstances. Retirement is a dynamic process, and success requires ongoing adjustments, not a fixed endpoint. The solution is personalized. Your target retirement number isn't enough. It's the planning around that number, adjusting for shocks, diversifying income streams, and creating flexible withdrawal strategies that determines your success. If you want a customized analysis that goes beyond generic calculators, consider reaching out for a comprehensive retirement plan. Let's ensure that your target number aligns with real-world conditions, not just ideal scenarios. All right, let's use an example of a hypothetical couple to bring this home. We'll call them John and Jane, and we'll complete a common online retirement savings calculator to see how much they need to retire at the age of 67. Once we've determined the recommended savings target from the generic calculator, we'll fast forward and assume that they have reached this target, and then compare those same assumptions using a more comprehensive cash flow-based retirement model to compare and see how they hold up. All right, so assuming John and Jane are both age 63, earning $150,000 each, maxing out the 401ks, and spending around $160,000 a year, which is typical for a household that's bringing in $300,000 before taxes. Based on the outputs and other assumptions that are used by this generic basic calculator, it's determined that John and Jane need $2.3 million in future dollars at the age of 67 to safely retire. So now let's fast forward 4 years to John and Jane's age 67 and assume that they've reached the savings target and see how the retirement holds up with the more comprehensive retirement planning model. So as you can see, on a linear basis, which means the investment return is just the same each year, the model has their money lasting until the age of 93. At face value, this may seem like a pretty good output, but it really isn't, at least for the average person. And the reason for this is because we're using constant market returns, which is of course not how it works in real life. Let's take a look at a stress test at a 20% negative portfolio return in year 1 and how that impacts the life of their money. As you can see, if John and Jane were to experience a bad market on the eve of retirement, this sequence of investment returns shaves off roughly 8 years from the life of the portfolio on a constant return basis. And under the same scenario where there's a 20% drop, there's a 20% probability that their money is approaching zero in their early 80s and a 50% probability that their money is approaching zero towards their mid-80s, assuming that they make no adjustments to their spending. This is problematic because the odds are pretty strong that at least one of them will still be alive at this point. Let's look at another scenario. Assume that one of them needs custodial care, which according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, around 35% of retirees will need facilities-based long-term care at some point during their lifetime. That's a nursing home. The median age that a U.S. retiree tends to need it to transition to a nursing home is the age of 83. So that's what we'll assume in this scenario. So how does this affect their money? In this scenario, there's around a 50% probability that their money is now approaching zero around the age of 88, which is when the Medicaid program would likely step in if the spouse needing care is still in a facility. So it's pretty clear that the recommended savings target of the traditional generic calculator had some major holes that had John and Jane been aware of, there's a high likelihood that they would have taken different action to either reduce their risk or at least adjust their expectations about what it would take to retire at the age that they wanted. Now that you've seen why traditional retirement calculations might be leading you astray, you need to understand one thing. These oversimplified formulas are just the beginning of what's wrong with generic retirement planning. What's truly eye-opening is how often these one-size-fits-all numbers lead to costly retirement stakes that can't be undone. The examples that I reviewed today prove it. The difference between proper retirement planning and following standard formulas can mean the difference between retirement security and running out of money, plain and simple. So with that being said, if you want me to analyze your complete retirement strategy and help you create a personalized plan that goes beyond generic numbers, click the first link in the description of this video and book a complimentary call with me. I'll see you in the next one.